I've been watching the news and social media these last couple days since the US elections, and I get the sense that for us to move on as a country, we need to unify. And I'm not talking about top-down unification or anything from the politicians, but to heal the divide in families and friendships that have been caused by political differences. I just see some of these videos and people feel like they're outright betrayed by individuals that just happen to have different political beliefs. We don't need anyone outside of our relationships to call for unification. We just need to make the decision ourselves so that instead of betrayal, we have forgiveness and are able to maintain those in relationships that are so important to us. So, from these videos, I'm pretty sure that any of these people that take election as a betrayal, that somebody voted for someone else, this is just not about one action. This is a series of interactions and behaviors that's probably absolutely unrelated to politics. It's been going on for a long period of time. I, and I know not every family is as divided as some of those that you're seeing up in the memes and for that are really sorrowful, I'll put it kindly, in regards to how the election went. So, like many of you out there, I have a political divide in my family, and it's just one of the many sources of family tension. It's been a long time, and that we've had just very controlled and bounded conversations, just really focused on focused on polite niceties and avoiding politics completely. And because the few times that they have come up, there's been some blow-ups and then some extended periods of not talking to each other. So, since I've been researching forgiveness lately to identify how to better incorporate it into my professional offerings as a stress recovery coach, because I do truly view that for some of you that are perfectionists, you need to give it a little bit more self-forgiveness for some of those mistakes that you have. But yesterday, Holy Spirit hit me squarely up and said, this is not just about research and not just about helping the folks professionally, but you need to put it in practice and to help yourself and others because this is a major issue I think that we'll be facing in the upcoming months and probably years. So that's why I'm doing this. And in the upcoming days until Thanksgiving, I'll end up putting out an exercise a day, just Monday through Fridays, just in regards to forgiveness and to see if this helps us all to have a more peaceable and grateful family time over Thanksgiving. These are short personal exercises and they don't actually require the participation of the other person. So this exercise focuses on decisional and emotional forgiveness. And so it's completely up to you whether you want to have a conversation with a specific person involved that's got different political beliefs than you. But it will certainly take your healing to another level if you choose to. So as I go through this, I'm going to go through the exercises myself, and I'm going to keep my examples pretty neutral and more secular. I want this to be accessible to anyone that's seeking to use forgiveness to heal the wounds caused by political division and in their relationships with friends and family. So in the comments, I'll drop a link to the exercises I'm covering so you can do them yourself. You can follow along with the PDF, write your answers out as we go along. So moving into this, uh, forgiveness really, it's a choice and it starts with a decision. There are two parts to forgiveness. It's once you have made the decision to forgive, then begins the healing journey to achieve emotional forgiveness. Um, what this is it's a releasing of all of the ill feelings, for example, anger, hurt, resentment that's associated with a perceived transgression and replacing it with a desire, a goodwill. Forgiveness is not about forgetting or pretending that the hurt did not occur. If there is an injustice, doesn't mean that you're giving up on following through on that injustice. Forgiveness is not conditional on the repentance of the other one. It certainly makes it easier when the transgressor is repentant and wants to make amends, but it's not necessary. So, using as an example by what I mean by all of this, when your home is vandalized and robbed, you could choose to forgive the thief, meaning that you've released your anger and the desire for revenge, and instead desire that the thief learn a lesson so that others are not harmed in the future. So, as the person that was robbed, you can still tell people that, you had these really strong feelings about the theft and the loss of the goods. You felt angry, violated. You wanted to punish the robber when you saw how your home was damaged and that he'd taken these things that you had worked so hard for, and now you'd had to end up doing more to get the money to being able to replace the items that were lost and stolen. So you can also still support, if you forgive the thief, that the thief needs to get tried in court and he needs to serve time for his crime because he did criminal behavior. So, this is what I mean by emotional forgiveness. It's getting to the point of saying, yes, I want the thief to learn a lesson and so that others aren't harmed in the future, but you can still do all of these other things. You're not whitewashing anything that happened. You still were stolen from. You still legitimately have negative feelings in regards to how that incident occurred and what happened from it. And you can still end up expecting the guy to end up serving justice. So that's what I mean by what forgiveness is and is not. Emotional forgiveness is all about your freedom and emotional release. So as you may or may not know, anger, resentment, rage, unforgiveness, these all get held in the body. And so they impact your overall wellness. It's there in your body, your mind, your spirit, and they can end up eating away with you and diminishing who you are and your ability to deal with things in the future. Emotions biochemically impact the body and have an impact on overall health. So forgiveness enables physical, mental, spiritual, and relational healing when you decide to take that path. So today, based upon this definition of forgiveness and perspective, I'm going to be go through the first of 12 different exercises based upon the Reach model of forgiveness. These are all publicly available resources. They're not my creations, and the links will be put in the comments. The videos will be a little bit longer than 10 minutes because I'll be sharing some of my answers and doing a little bit of teaching on each of these exercises. This will probably be the longest video in the series because I went through why I was doing this a little bit more. So let's go ahead and jump into the worksheets and start doing some work towards forgiveness. Hello, 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 hello. So this is the workbook that we're going to be going through. It's called Your Path to Reach Forgiveness, and we'll be going through the different exercises that are in there. So I've already gone over a little bit in regards to the intro for forgiveness. I'm going to skip over this. If you want to go through the workbook, like I said, I'm going to make it available so you can download it and use it yourself. So the first exercise that we come up to is to rate your usual use of forgiveness. As you think about how you forgive people currently, would you rate yourself? So, do you forgive almost with everyone that you know in almost every situation? In which case, then you are completely forgiving and a score of a 10. But if you feel that you almost always get angry, hurt, resentful, bitter when someone is unfair or hurts you, then give yourself a 0. I'm sure you're somewhere in between. And so, if you were to give a fair rating right now, where would that be? So for me, I ended up deciding that would be about a 6. I hold grudges and resentment and act passive aggressively for some slights, and it's usually worse with certain people the closer that they are to me than others. Moving into the next exercise. So you want to end up getting very specific about the situation. The more specific you can get about the situation, the easier it is to work with. Because if you take something that's a repeating theme, you may not be able to go deep enough to get to what's at the root of it and to being able to transform the situation. So just pick through and pick something that you can get very specific on and not just I'm pissed off because they're politically different. Get to a specific situation. So I'll give you an example of what I mean. So, right before the election, at my sister's birthday party, I felt my father was trying to provoke an argument with my husband based upon political differences instead of behaving with our family norms of not discussing current events and politics. And this was my sister's birthday, definitely didn't want it ruined by any discussion on politics because we've had a number of family events where we left upset with each other, and I didn't want this to be yet another one. So, I was pretty upset at my dad for trying to steer the conversation that way, but I was very grateful for my husband that he decided to ignore the comment and shut down that line of conversation. It reinforced my belief that family dinners are difficult and that I need to do more to keep the conversations with generally polite lines, weather, daily activities, anything that doesn't raise tensions. As I took a look at what happened to myself in the situation, physically I got really tense and I was pretty short fused afterwards. As my husband and I were driving home, he got a little bit of the flack. Even though he was not the object of that, like I said, it was my dad that I'd gotten upset with. And so this also reinforced the belief that I need to keep family time to a minimum, particularly where both my father and my husband are together, because the chances of that going wrong, I've proven to myself that that's more likely than not. So I'm going to work with my forgiveness towards my father and this specific incident, which can then be used to open up to other incidents where he's provoked the political discussion. So that should just take you a couple quick minutes being able to put your brief description in there. Like I said, just get specific and call it out. You're going to keep working through the same situation through all of these exercises so that you can being able to release any of these intense negative feelings you have towards that and transform them into goodwill and forgiveness. Um, Moving on to our third exercise, part of this exercise for today is a focus on where is the decision to forgive at this moment for that specific situation. So this is an important point because, like I said, the forgiveness begins with a choice and a decision. As soon as you make that decision, then you're able to move forward. If you're not ready to decide to forgive, none of the rest of this is going to follow. So it takes the logical part, that intellectual piece, to then take the lead, and then the emotional side will follow. So for this particular exercise, you want to end up doing this 0 to 10 scale again. So on a 10 for decisional forgiveness, that means that you've made a complete decision to forgive. You're fully invested in this. It's really important to treat this person as someone that you appreciate, and you're not going to end up holding any grudges in regards to it. And then a on the other end of that is a 0, meaning that you're not ready to forgive. In which case, this may not quite be ready for you to go through this exercise, but it's definitely a point of awareness for you to start working on if you really do want to end up healing that relationship long term and to be able to have positive interactions with this person again. So for myself, I decided that my decision to forgive at this moment is at a 7. I plan to treat my father as someone who I appreciate and do have events scheduled to support him and to work with him to make sure that I follow through on from that standpoint. So then the last part of today's exercise is to rate your emotional forgiveness. So you may have that logical desire. It's just then it's all about where your emotions are because none of us want to get hurt again. And so that's what this particular assessment is. As we go through this process of forgiveness, we're going to end up replacing these negative, unforgiving emotions with more positive ones toward the wrongdoer, towards the transgressor. So when you're looking at this, you really want to make sure that you're looking at this also from the perspective what this relationship is and how this relationship means to you. Because if the wrongdoer is someone you want to keep interacting with, like romantic partner, child, parent, full emotional forgiveness is required to be to ensure that you can get rid of the negative, and you'll be able to feel those positive emotions towards the person again. So as I took a look at this, my emotional forgiveness then, let me make sure I'm in the right exercise. Yes, 1.4. So I decided my emotional forgiveness was at a 4. This keeps repeating, where my dad will bring up politics even though we've agreed mutually not to. So I'm fearful of being hurt again, and the big family divide being caused again. Um, because I've seen where other situations completely spun out of control, and we've actually had to sit down then with my parents and my husband and I to being able to make amends, and I just don't want to end up getting there. So then the being able to close us out then today. So there are just really short, simple exercise today. Get to the point of the description and the specific situation that you're looking at, defining which relationship you're working on, and recognizing then your normal tendency to forgive. And then for the specific situation, what is your decisional forgiveness and your current state of emotional forgiveness towards this? So the two key pieces that I really want you to walk away with from today is that there are two steps to forgiveness. The first being activation of your choice, making the decisional forgiveness to forgive. And the second part then is the emotional. And so once you've made that decision to forgive, then you can start working that journey towards transforming those emotions and repairing those relationships. So tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and jump into why forgiveness is so important, and I hope you will join me there. Um, like I mentioned, forgiveness, I think, is a really big topic that a lot of us could really use in this trying era. There's a lot going on that's where and a lot of forces are trying to divide us rather than to allow us to come together. And I think this is one of these areas where each of us as an individual can make choices and have that impact around us by making the choice to forgive. If you have any questions on this exercise, please email me at sharon@whisperingfieldswellness.com. And if you have any particular interest in regards to using forgiveness as a way to help reduce your stress and to work with your healing from your perfectionist tendencies and not valuing your own worth, let me know. It'll be an email as well. I am working on a course and a package to being able to help people specifically with that issue. Wishing you the best. Have a blessed day.